Welcome to Superchargers. Let's go. G'day guys, I'm Daniel Thomas. On this episode, I am joined by co-founder of Dr. Doug's Balms, Natalie Gardner. Natalie has a wealth of experience in the biotechnology and skincare industries and shares her entrepreneurial journey getting Dr. Doug's Balms out into the world. The story behind Dr. Doug's is a mission to soothe, heal and protect your skin with an all-natural balm that isn't just a product, it's a hero in a jar. Here is my conversation with Natalie Gardner.
Do you think you always had perhaps an entrepreneurial type spirit in you?
I do. I remember being really young and everyone would ask me what I want to do. And I knew I wanted to start my own business. I just knew. And I was always, but I didn't know what it was going to be. So it just took me a while because, I grew up with a single mom family and it was myself and my sister and I was the older one. I think I just kind of took on that role of being the helpful one and taking care of everything. And like many of us are, I was taught that what's next is college. What's next is your full-time job. What's next is, so I followed that path as I know many people do, but I just, get a good job, get married, all of these things that kind of came in that line. And as I went through it, I had great jobs. I mean, my first job out of college was, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up, really. So I knew I loved to travel. And so my first job was actually working in the corporate headquarters of United Airlines. And it was awesome. I mean, it really was great. And then, that whole turbulent time that United went through. And before I knew it, it went from five of us to just me in the department. And it just kind of, I think it was just time to move on. So I was approached by a friend who was in biotech and pharma, and they were like, you really need to talk to some people. You'd be great at it. And so I kind of entered that world. I really never thought I wanted to be in sales. Like I am not a hardcore salesperson by any by any stretch of the imagination, but I love to educate. And so the positions and the roles I took throughout my career there were really more, let's go out and do the right thing. Let's educate on the disease state or the product or, teach others on how to do that. And the success will come. And that really is how it happened. So I moved through that career path, really just I worked it as my own business. So most of the time, although I worked many different roles throughout the corporation, I always kept my territory so I could stay near home. I knew that, family's a big part of my life and a real priority that I knew I wanted to stay close by. So I would travel a lot, but I always kept my territory so I could have that home base. And I really ran it like my own business. So I know that I built a lot of those skills by just running every job I've had. I've pretty much run as my own business, but once I decided it was time to break away,
There
quite
was
a
no turning back.
there was no turning back, and it was like just jump in, head first, go.
It's pretty cool. It sounds like you had your sort of your values in check quite early on, when you're talking about staying close to family, but also the educational aspect. It sounds like you were very kind of clear on that, and it sounds like that put you in a good stead. It's always nice to get an invitation to something too, like you're invited into that world that you didn't expect. And sometimes, I guess my point is sometimes it takes people a while to get clear on those values, but it sounds like you had those pretty clear early on.
Well, that's interesting. You know what? It's kind of interesting to hear you say that because I've never really thought of it that way. I always kind of felt like I was not knowing where I was
Mm.
supposed to go next, and it just eventually it kind of came to me. But when you're talking about values, maybe I mean, I guess that is really I did have those
It-
basic values in check. I knew
yeah, it comes up on the show a lot in terms of like getting clear about those values and when we're sort of in line with those. You said it with the education, like the success will come. I firmly believe that, and it comes up a lot. So maybe you had that sort of subconsciously in line, even though it may have felt like it wasn't so clear at the time. I'm someone who's taken a lot of left and rights, particularly in in career path. But in hindsight, the beauty of that is all these things teach you so many things and stuff. I'm sure there was things you learned at United Airlines that fed into your, your new endeavor.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, and the thing that I learned, I mean, I could go into the details of the job, but the thing that I really learned from a higher level was just that. I loved to be able to identify needs and be able to find a solution for them. If I could help people, no matter what the role was that I was working in, if I could find a way to help them, find what they needed, and then find a solution for them and bring them together, there was nothing better for me. And actually, you're helping me talk this out a little bit. I'm kind of learning some things about myself as we're on here.
I
But,
think
and that's how I took it into the other roles too, right? I mean,
I
yeah,
think as humans we like to find solutions. Like we love it when we're trying to, like, as much as a problem solving can be kind of frustrating, we actually, it can drive us to be trying to find
yeah.
those solutions.
And I don't know, there's something rewarding about being able to do it for other people. I think I'm
Mm.
better at identifying and doing it for others than maybe even myself. So,
Yeah, that's a big one. Me too, actually. I always say with the cool thing with parenting, I'm not, are you a parent or?
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, like I've always said, one of the cool things about being a father is it takes the focus off yourself sometimes, you know.
Yep, that is, gosh, is that the truth? That is absolutely 100%.
So the business venture it led you to is Dr. Doug's Balms. Now, from what I've read, I think this is awesome, like genuinely, because I'm always interested in organic type products. And it sounds like this one's a good one in that sense, in terms of it's using a lot of natural products, like I read coconut oil and beeswax. How did that come about, and who is Dr. Doug?
So, Dr. Doug, when I first met him, he was doing what I call crazy races, okay? Because I'm not going to be doing 100 miles in the mountains. So good crazy, but crazy. And he actually, the way it came about is he's a neurologist. So he had, in his time seeing patients, he would just compound things for his patients to help if he could. So when he was doing these crazy races, or he started just compounding something for himself, really, in his hotel room. And it was created first, like I said, just for himself. And he wanted one thing instead of all the different products, that would prevent blisters, prevent chafing, would heal his skin while he was out there. And it would only be one thing in that pack he had to carry the whole time. And so that's really what he was looking to create. And before he knew it, they become a family. These trail people, they become family. And people were asking him wherever he would be around the country, did you bring that stuff? Did you bring that miracle stuff? And I remember talking to him one day, and just with all the feedback he was getting, I'm like, you really need to sell this stuff.
Mm.
And he looks back at me, and we were close friends at the time, and he's just like, I'm a neurologist. What are you saying? I wouldn't even know how to start. I can make it. I can do the R&D. I can be the creator, but I wouldn't know where to take it from there. So that's kind of where the idea of Dr. Doug's, the company, came from. We had I actually used it myself in a couple Spartans, and it worked so well, like no blisters, no chafing at all, even in and out of the water. And my sister, who's a dermatologist, she found a lot of interest in it as well, and started offering it to her patients. And
Mm.
we're seeing great response with anything from like itchy to dry skin to eczema relief, the symptoms of eczema that come up, the relief from that, and some other dermatitises as well. I now use it neck down because I had severely dry skin.
Mm.
And I've never been able to find something that lasts me shower to shower without having to reapply, or, my skin basically flaking everywhere. Sorry, that's kind of gross, but
So, so was he basically concocting it himself initially, like a home kind of batch, and get just
it
testing
was.
it out?
Yeah, he was just doing it for himself. I mean, he was using old containers, but he was using the ingredients from his kitchen, really, the coconut oil, the olive oil. The beeswax wasn't in the kitchen, but he ended up using some beeswax. So those are really the base of all of our products is just 7 organic ingredients. It's organic coconut oil, olive oil, beeswax, a little bit of shea butter, the essential oils of peppermint and lavender for the anti-inflammatory and um, calming properties, and then vitamin E. It's it's crazy. It's so
Crazy
simple,
simple. Yeah, so simple.
but it works so well. So why are we putting all these other,
Mm.
to me, I get a little passionate, so you can stop me, but why are
No,
we putting all
passion
this
is great.
why are we putting all this stuff on our bodies when I mean I'll tell you, Daniel, I tried everything. I mean, you wouldn't believe how much ridiculous money I was spending on these trying to find an organic product that actually would work for me. They all ended up under my sink. And now we have this one. So it's again going out and for me to take it out and just try to help people, try to educate on what you, I mean, yes, if you want to go try to make it in your kitchen, go ahead. Most of us don't want to do that ourselves. So for those others who aren't interested in that, it really has made a big difference.
I love the
So
simplicity of it and the just genuine passion you have behind it, having used it yourself. That's very different as opposed to coming from somebody trying to kind of sell you something and you can tell that their heart's not in it or whatever it may be. So just that simplicity, that simple place, and the fact that you're saying, hey, you can put this together, try it. But yeah, generally people want to save time or whatever. So I think just in terms of marketing something I've always kind of struggled with because I'm like, if you're passionate about something, perhaps you will that genuine marketing will come through like you have just presented
oh,
with
thank you.
this. So I find the balance between, well, particularly creativity and marketing quite tricky. But in this case, you're coming from such a simple place that clearly works with you and people around you, that's a great place to come from with a product, I think.
Well, thank you. I feel like, I feel like no matter where you are, I mean, in business, you start to think about, and I love marketing, but sometimes I feel like I fail myself at it, right? Because I don't want to be salesy. If it's
Mm.
not the right thing for you, I
You're
no
not going
way
to
am I
push
going
it.
to
Yeah.
no. But if it is, absolutely, I'll tell you about it and I want you to give it a try. I would love the feedback. That's part of what we do. I mean, our we actually have a money back guarantee, but it's not and it is for the customer so that they don't have to worry, but we genuinely it's also kind of selfish because it's for us too. We want to make these better and better. We don't want to be telling people even though, you know, hundreds of people tell us they've gotten relief from something. If it doesn't work for someone else, let's figure out why. So that is one of the reasons why we want feedback as well, because we don't want to be telling people things that they may not experience. And if it's a different type of solution, let's try to figure it out together. So
So when you took those initial steps in like getting it out there, I imagine that would have been quite overwhelming. What was your first what were the first steps in that process?
really, it was a side gig at first, very honestly. We just kind of let's get it out to people who need it. So a lot of word of mouth. So a lot of even to date, most of our marketing is organic. So it's just somebody telling somebody else. For example, we haven't had the bandwidth just yet. We need to get there because, well, for many reasons, but we haven't had the bandwidth to go out and sell to businesses, right? But people have heard about it. They've called us. So we do wholesale, but it's just people who have come to us because they've heard of it, they've wanted to try it, and then they try it, they love it, and their customers love it. So I don't know, that's like what keeps me fueled and keeps
Mm.
me going because it does make a difference. Even for like the pain. So he created one for his plantar fasciitis, and I'm getting off track. I'll get right back to that. But it has those same ingredients, but it also has added Arnica montana, so organic Arnica for the anti-inflammatory um, and pain relief. It's like nature's Motrin is what they call Arnica, and then magnesium chloride, which we're all deficient in. And that actually also helps with any kind of muscle and nerve pain. So anyway, we've come up with solutions for different things over time. But as far as getting the marketing out at first, it was really just word of mouth and people passing it along.
But did you have to set up like a kind of laboratory that replicated the home kitchen?
Yes, yes,
Or
yes,
was it
yes.
all come
Okay,
was it
that's
all
what you're
coming
asking.
was Dr. Doug working overtime and he had to like get in
Well, I mean, at first we did. I mean, a lot of the trials that we did, oh God, I mean, you should hear him tell some of these stories. I mean, it really was in the kitchen and it
mm,
was in a muffin pan, like a mini muffin pan, trying out different essential oils and what makes the most sense. So not only going out on the researching side, but then also just having, we would sit in the kitchen and and he would divvy out different things. We'd try different formulas. I say you can make it in your kitchen. It's not that easy. There
mm,
actually is quite a bit of science to it, but and temperature control. I mean, so many different pieces. But so we tried out a lot of versions. But I knew. I mean, there were a couple things that we just definitely knew. I didn't want it to be greasy. I mean, because the olive
mhm,
oil and coconut oil, those can tend to be, and products that have a minimum can tend to be. I wanted to make sure it massaged in completely and then and didn't leave footprints on my floors, didn't leave, when I touched my phone. So that's one of the things that we were looking for in the kitchen those days. So kind of the scent, or what do we want from those essential oils? And then some of the consistency. How well does it rub in? How well does so right now, for example, I just love that it absorbs in completely. Like you'll feel those oils as it's going on, but absorbs in completely. And then the beeswax holds that moisture in and keeps the outside irritants out. So that's a lot of the thought around things like eczema, right? A lot of outside irritants cause it. But so when I use the zinc one for sunscreen in the summer, and when you go in the water, you can see it balling up.
mm.
So the nourishing ingredients did get into the skin, but then the beeswax keeps the outside stuff out. So that was, I mean, the picture of us in the kitchen is probably hilarious, but I would walk across the floors. I'm like, do I see footprint? Because I used to put Aquaphor. I don't know what you used on your son, but I used to put it all over my babies. My boys were, that's what I knew, and that's what we used. Now I don't want to use a petroleum product. I wish I had not used it on them, but hindsight, right? Now I know so much more. And so I knew what I didn't want.
Mm.
And it really came together kind of like musical notes, and just came together and made such a perfect product that, oh, here I am again. Like, and I don't mean that to come across salesy, but I really do. I mean, I really do feel that it is something special.
It's there's a bit of kind of alchemy in it, finding those right
Yep.
ratios. Yeah, in this day and age, it feels a bit overwhelming that anything you pick up in the pharmacy or the supermarket, if you take a read of the back label, there's just like it's hard to find, it's hard to find stuff that's really simple and organic like this sounds. Um, so again, it kind of just it speaks for itself. And there's a lot of products that just I don't know, you get them like even if it's hair product or whatever, and the scent of it or whatever just doesn't sit right with you. So this one clearly, you can feel it. Um,
Yeah. Well, and they're there for a reason. I get migraines and I walk by some of those stores in the mall that just,
a
I mean, the
humming.
scent, oh, the scents, I mean,
Mm,
it immediately, I can't even go, I mean, I just can't even go in there. So I've always used things that are unscented. And with the organic products, the essential oils are pretty key and they add to the benefits of them, but some people don't like, they're worried because of the scent, but for some reason it's so mild and it's so it's there, but it's pretty mild and I've never been bothered by it, which is
mm.
interesting.
It comes down to the feel and texture and the sensory aspect, I think, of the
Yeah.
stuff. So if you've got that in the pocket, that's good. And there's how many different types of it are there at the moment?
So we have seven
So,
different products, And they're all based on the one that I told you about, but everything from like itchy dry skin to and eczema to extra healing with zinc and well, we don't have an SPF on it yet, but zinc and zinc oxide and titanium dioxide topically are natural sun protectants. Um, so eventually we'll work on that. And we also have, for muscle and nerve, we have a magnesium balm specifically. So that's really helped people with muscle and nerve pain. Doug is with some of his neuro patients. He's used it for migraine. He's used it for restless leg. It also really promotes sleep, which has been nice. And magnesium's been used for years for all of these things that I'm mentioning to you. So it's not it's not necessarily a claim from the product, but it's a something that we know and a reason why we brought it into the product line. Magnesium chloride is the best. There's 7 different types of magnesium, but the best one topically or transdermally is chloride to get
Mm.
into the to be absorbed into the skin. So people get a ton of relief with it. But even like some people with arthritis, pain, just all kinds of different pain, and they want something different from taking a Motrin every day, right? And
It sounds kind of dynamic in terms of all the stuff that it does. It's
it amazes me though. It
Mm.
amazes like still today I'm like I just can't believe that we can have something so simple and it works so well. So why, I just keep going back to that question like why are we using all these other things? Well, the answer is we just don't know.
It's
We've been
awareness.
we've
Yeah.
been
So
taught this all of our lives. And, you walk into a drugstore, oh my God, I mean, there's so many different products on the shelves there. I'm trying to think. Pharmacies in Europe don't have as many, right? Don't
mm,
have as much. It's in different stores, but they do have quite a bit
mm,
still.
yeah.
Um,
German pharmacies are pretty classic. It's I've had some experiences in pharmacies here in Germany. But what does sort of modern, like in terms of starting to get this out there, what does modern marketing look like for you, and what are perhaps some of the strategies you've been impressed with? Because, with social media and the kind of current climate, where do you think it's at?
Yeah, I mean that's a tough one because for us being a small business and not having a big budget and like a lot of these larger companies do, it's really and we're competing with the bigger companies when it comes to getting out there and paying for word, paying for ads and who knows with the algorithms changing all the time.
Mm,
So I've learned a lot of lessons the hard way. But but now we're kind of slow, slow and steady wins the race if we can learn from our mistakes and just take it slow, feel it out. The things that are working right now are different from, what was working a year from now or a year ago, but or a year from now, right? Or what will be working. But right now, I mean, we have a couple affiliates that have really jumped on board. Well, and we've signed them up for an affiliate program and them sharing with their communities. It's kind of an extension of what we've always done, the organic. Please tell, if you think it might help somebody, please tell them or share it. Right now we're going into the holiday season, so a lot of encouragement to spread the word and share it with somebody who could benefit and let us know, I mean, doing things around that and it's more pushing, encouraging the organic, but then when it comes to ads, I mean, honestly, right now, I don't know the answer to that.
mm.
I don't know what the right thing is. We've played on TikTok, we've played on Instagram. I mean, we have those platforms up and running and they do some, but they just don't, I mean, it's not like a whirlwind. It's kind of
No, and
overall.
sometimes it's like, create the avatar of the person that you're marketing to. And it's like, I
Well,
find,
and you're absolutely right. That's what a lot of people say, and it's hard for something like our product, right?
mm,
And that's definitely a hard piece for me and one of the learning experiences that you can't, even though these products could help everybody, you got to build that avatar. You got to have, I think that avatar makes sense, right? But
yeah,
it's hard for me because I want it to help everybody, but
yes, and it could,
there
it could.
and it
That's the,
could. But So this year we've actually focused, we've started focusing in on athletes since that's really where it came from. And then also families who are really focused on the organic and the natural things. And I mean, so that's really where we focused dollars and marketing budget, but most of it is still coming in through organic channels.
Organic in line with the product.
Hey,
But you mentioned lessons the hard way, and I think it seems to be the only way. It seems to be
you're right.
really, I don't know the lightning in a bottle kind of get it right first time. I don't know if it does happen, but like it just seems that often it's a process of just experience and keeping at it and making those mistakes and then improving and then just finding out the wrong ways before you get to the stuff that works. It just seems to be the only kind of path.
Well, but and that's one part of this business I have a love-hate relationship with, right? Is as long as you take those losses or what you consider a loss at the time and learn, make sure you're learning from it, right?
Mm,
Then it could really turn into something even better. And maybe we weren't meant to be, maybe that wasn't meant to be, but now that I have that lesson, I won't do that again. Let's
mm.
find what really works and what we really need to be focused on going forward. So stop with all the shiny objects. Entrepreneurs have a lot of shiny objects, and
True.
I've heard Candy Valentino say that a lot. But so many shoulder taps throughout the day, like anything that can distract us, right?
I
And
yeah, I jump from shiny object to shiny object, which is I jump around a lot. Do you have are you a fairly routine person in terms of your time, or are you quite spontaneous?
I'm pretty spontaneous. I need to get better. I wear a lot of hats in the business, and I feel like, when things need attention, they need attention. But really, the thing that works for me best, I have my power hour. I call it my
Mm,
power hour.
there you
I
go.
get up before anyone else in the house gets up and have one thing that I'm going to focus on during that time. And no, the rest of the world isn't up yet, or at least anyone that's going to be contacting me. You may be up, but most people aren't. And really just focus during that time before the kids wake up, before just the hustle and bustle of everyday life starts. That's when I can really get the most done. But also for me, that one of the other hard things is determining when I see those shiny objects, because I'm the same way. But
Priority. Yeah.
yeah, what are the priorities, and what is urgent and important
Mm.
versus urgent and unimportant.
That's a huge one. That's a huge one is identifying which one should be prioritized because you may put the same amount of energy and focus into something that's far less of a priority. But yeah, I struggle with that. I'm struggling with that a bit. But that time you're talking about, morning routines and stuff can cop a little bit of flack. But I think that time you're talking about is really nice when the world is just still, especially when you have family, because as soon as the day starts, it's amazing how your time can just be hijacked, even if you're just locked in a room like your time can just be hijacked with it before you know it. And it's sort of the day can just get away from you. And like you say, you're wearing a lot of hats. And if you get into that kind of putting out fire modes or whatever, it's can be a bit of a spin out. But that time, and I think it's consistent with driven people who get up at that, you know, that real stillness time can be very useful when the world's not active.
Yeah. I mean, for me, that I've found that's my way to get, if I really need to focus on something and get it done, doing it then is so much more effective, so much more efficient than any other time. I mean, I probably get more done in that hour, even if I
Mm,
just get up an hour. And at first I just started getting up 15 minutes earlier. Because I wake up naturally early, but I have to get up even earlier, make myself get up even earlier to do it. But it's such an important part of getting my day going
mm.
and staying on track. because who knows what's going to happen for the rest of the
Mm.
day.
And I've tried to come to terms in recent times a little bit with this idea of sometimes less achieving more, in terms of, because I was in the rat race for a long time and thinking that the more hours I did, the further I was going to get ahead until I sort of crashed and burned. But exactly what you're saying, when priority is on the right things and you're using like that portion of time effectively, you can actually achieve a lot more in less, which seems counterintuitive. It's tough. It's a tough one, but I'm believing it more and more. If you're putting your time into the right, call it the right things.
Yeah. I mean, and knowing what that will be before I go to bed.
Mm,
So, I mean, as you talk, I'm thinking about just how to get there, and there will be some weeks, and it's hard to get back. Like when I'm not, maybe it's not feeling well, or had to be up really late for something, or when I don't do it, it's easy to get out of it, a little bit harder to get back in, right, into that pattern. But I mean, the difference is just, it's
mm.
huge. It's
But
huge.
knowing the night before saves you making that, using the energy to make that choice when you wake. You can just get straight into it.
Right.
That's a big one. It's
And just
like,
picking one thing.
yes, don't over over. I'm a culprit of that. Like just over like setting out the week, and then
Yeah.
some other guests have talked about reflection on the week and so on. When I've reflected on weeks, I've gone, wow, I really overestimated what I could achieve in the
Yeah.
week. So all this stuff sounds quite sort of bread and butter sometimes, but it's easier said than done sometimes. And
Well, that's true. For
yeah,
sure.
yeah. Is there a book or a film or a series or a piece of art that had a strong impact on you at any time in your journey?
I think there's a couple. The one that comes to my mind right now came in was it's just a few years old, but it's called Wealth Habits by Candy Valentino. Um, and I've never been one to really want to focus on the numbers, right?
Mm,
Like I said, I always went out, felt like if I did the right thing, that would come. And now physically owning the business and really looking at life around me and trying to teach my kids, I've really learned wealth is more than money, right? First of all. Now you need to identify what your wealth is, but her book really it just for some reason it drew me in. She writes it really simply but and gives lots of good ways to bring wealth into your life, meaning keep your wealth, right? And know your numbers and know how to get forward. But the other pieces of wealth too, like our time, right?
mm,
And how do we spend, oh, there was a quote I wrote down last week that I really liked, but it's talking about putting more intent into your days so you could have more, life, or putting more intent on time in your days so that you can have more life in your days.
mm.
Life. I'm
Yeah,
gonna get
yeah,
you that.
with intent.
I'm not
Like,
saying it right, but basically it's just being more intentional
mm,
and thinking about certain things that I just am not a numbers person, I just I never was all that focused on it. I mean, I had what I needed to get along. And there were hard times and there were, obviously, I mean, there's lots of different times throughout life that I can think of, but you just work hard and it comes, right? But I never really had that planned out as well as I needed to. And she does such a great job in that book to make it simple and lay out lots of different ways that we may not see, to find wealth in our lives.
I think it's cool when people offer a sort of integrative approach. Like it may be a book on money or wealth, but it's not just focused on that. It's like the whole pie, the trying to balance. Because I think everything sort of works in some kind of equilibrium. So when stuff's much more integrative,
Yeah.
sounds like a good book.
It's a good one. She just had a new one launch called 9% Edge. Do you know only 9% of small businesses survive?
Oh wow. Yeah,
So
that's 1 in 10.
yeah. I mean that's
I
I
I was
didn't
gonna
I didn't
yeah, and I was gonna say that actually there's an element of risk that comes into setting up a business, and that can trigger fears and all sorts of things, especially when you have a family. So all credit to you for taking that leap. When you
It's been scary. There have been scary times. There have been really joyous times. Um,
It's a roller
but
coaster. Yeah.
it's such a roller, isn't entrepreneurship is such a roller coaster. Hopefully it's not just me. But yeah, I mean it definitely is, but there are so many, again, I just go back to what fuels us, right? And
Mm.
if it truly does, the other stuff will come.
I think
The
that's really,
clarity will come.
really, really important. When you break it all down, what's the driving thing behind it? And again, the values is a big part of that. I just know when there hasn't been a core value kind of driving something, it's never really worked out at its best, I think. But once you have that identified, which you clearly have with this, the sky's the limit.
Daniel, every time I've done a values exercise, I've never chose the word education.
Mm,
But that's really how I love to do things.
mm.
And you just brought that to my thank
Well,
you.
you said that. My pleasure. You said that straight away, and that's a huge value to come from. And when you're incorporating that into the business aspect as well, I think that's cool. But yeah, I'm happy if I brought some light to
I just am thinking about it in a different way, so I appreciate that.
that. Cool. It's a traditional show to have guests offer listeners a challenge of some sort. I mean, we've mentioned a lot of things already. Is there anything that springs to mind? Something they can? I mean, you've mentioned it with the that time in the morning, the stillness time. That's a good one. Is there anything else that springs to mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good one if you can find your power hour, whatever that may be. Some people may have it at night, but the other thing that I would challenge, that I love to challenge people with, is think about what is your end game? And in all the decisions that you make, think about that. What are the three things that you want in life? And if you're not going toward that with the decisions that you make, then and you can say no to more things, right? I have a problem. I'm trying to focus myself more on, if this isn't aligned with what I want in the end, why am I taking the time to do it? So it goes back to making more, putting more life in your days, right? Being able to enjoy your days and putting more life into it. So thinking about those values, make sure you have those in mind. Those values are just those things. What are the top things that you see yourself doing in the end, whether it be at the end of, when you're going to sell your business, or when you're going to leave a company, or what you're going to do at retirement, wherever you are in your, in that stage of life. What are those things? And start thinking about that in every decision you make, because there's so many things that pull us away from the things that really matter. And if we're working so hard all our lives and on these hamster wheels, right? Hoping that when we retire, we'll get more time with the kids. Is that really, what about more time now? You know, I just find that hamster wheel takes us all over the place. And so
I, lo-
try to think about that.
I love that you've mentioned the end game. I've got a brother, a very close brother and best friend of mine in Australia, and he's always challenged me in awesome ways, like leaning into the kind of discomfort of stuff. And I had a project a while back, and I was talking about it a few years, and he's like, "What's your end game?" and and I, and we still talk about the what's the end game, but you're right in like it could be at the end of a particular stage or a longer thing, but thinking about that and working back from there is really important. Otherwise, you're kind of just in the ship at sea and just kind of flailing in the water without knowing where you're trying to head. So that's a good one.
Yeah. Well, I hope
Where
it helped.
yeah, where can people find you and the product and Dr. Doug's?
Well, thank you for asking. So we're at drdougs.com, just drdougs.com, on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook at Dr. Doug's Balms. And I am Natalie N, like Nicole Gardner. And that's how you can find me on all the platforms. And I would love to connect with, I'd love to connect with you, and I'd love to connect with your audience as well. And if there's anything I can do, you know what? I'm going to create a coupon code just for you guys.
That'd be awesome.
So make it
That'd be great.
Superchargers.
Yeah, cool.
Make it Superchargers, and that'll take 15% off everything. And Daniel, I also want to send you a few things for your family.
Oh, that'd be appreciated. No, from what I know of the product and from our well, we call it from the balm, it just sounds very cool. Sounds like it's got a lot of healing properties in different ways. Um, and the way you've spoken about it, uh, yeah. So I'd appreciate that. And are you potentially looking at international or are you international sales as well? Like it's global.
Eventually, yeah. I mean, we
Mm.
do ship. We definitely do ship internationally right now. We don't have a huge presence yet. We're kind of feeling out the market and trying to see, where to go next. So it's definitely on our radar screen, and we can get it to the people who need it or want it. But we just haven't put a ton of efforts into the marketing out there yet.
Yeah, it gets quite complicated. I think the international side of things, I
It
wouldn't
does. So
know.
we're learning.
Is there anything we haven't covered in terms of the balm?
No, I
Or
think,
no?
I mean, I think we have, if, I tell you, if you're looking for something simple that truly works, it's, give me a ring, shoot me I mean, even on the website, the little chat bot, it comes to my phone. So you may not get an answer right away, but I love chatting with people and just seeing, how can we help?
But that's great if people can get contact you directly. That speaks volumes. So, well, I
Absolutely.
really appreciate your time. We've covered a lot there, not just about the balm, and about your journey and the way you've gone about this new venture. So I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me, Daniel. It was so nice talking to you.
There you go, guys. Honest ratings for the show on Apple are appreciated. If you have a guest suggestion, please feel free to reach out on my website at danielthomas.co. I'm also on social media at Mr. Dan Thomas. Catch you on the next episode.